Law Enforcement Center.
Sure.
Yeah, because it actually says Law Enforcement Center.
It does.
So that's,
And it just says nothing up there.
yeah. You get that in the background?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so, all right, shoot.
Good.
Okay, this is, how you doing everyone? This is Kirk Bangstad, owner of the Monopoly Brewing Company. Taking this video is Scott, who is a paralegal for my attorney Fred Milnes. Fred's got court today, but Fred is on the hook in case I get arrested for what I'm doing today. So the reason I'm here today is we are going to file around 40 criminal defamation complaints against folks who I feel have defamed me and the Monopoly Brewing Company over the last 4 years. Now, the reason we're doing that I want to explain with a little history. Last week, about a week and a half ago, I was, well actually before that, over the last 4 years, Greg Walker, who is the publisher of the Lakeland Times, sued me for defamation and for basically calling him a crook and a misogynist, and we settled out of court on that civil lawsuit about 3 weeks ago, a month ago. Basically, that case I feel was a mistrial because Greg Walker is a public figure, and by law, a public figure has to prove that anything said about him, even if false, was said with actual malice. And the actual malice defense was not even brought up in my circuit court trial under Judge Leon Stentz from Forest County. And so we were appealing that verdict. It was the largest verdict in the history of Wisconsin, $750,000. We were appealing that, and my insurance company decided, after about $1 million worth of legal fees, that they no longer wanted to fight this case. So they, sorry, let's get out of this woman's way. So they decided to settle out of court with Greg Walker, and ultimately I paid $50,000 and they paid $530,000. Chances are that's not even the legal fees that Greg Walker spent to get out of the case. But anyways, that case was settled out of court a month ago. Immediately after that, Greg Walker's paper published a hit piece against a first grade teacher who was reading an acclaimed book that included a same-sex couple, and he said that she was somehow corrupting these children for teaching a book with a same-sex couple. She couldn't defend herself, and this guy buys ink by the barrel, and so once again it fit a pattern of Greg Walker bullying women in this town. I didn't like what I saw, so what I did was I created a picture, and I'll show it to you. I created a picture that, oh, hold on, let me get it. I created a picture right here. Can you get this, Scott? I created a picture that showed photoshopped Greg Walker's face in a rubber suit and Heather Holmes, the general manager of the newspaper, in a rubber suit. And I basically said in this photo a bubble that said, Heather was asking Greg, is it possible that you're picking on a first grade teacher for teaching her kids about a same-sex couple because you're embarrassed by your own weird strange sexual desires? Now I did that to show that he shouldn't be able to get away with picking on a first grade teacher without being picked on himself or criticized for doing that. Now, in that post, I wrote this. Can you get close? I wrote a disclaimer that said, similar to Fox News, This content is purely fictional in nature. Any relationship to real-life characters is purely coincidental. So, because I knew that if you say that there's nothing actually factual about satire, you cannot be sued for defamation because you are not trying to state a fact and you're not lying about it if you're telling the truth that there's nothing about this that's fact. So I put a disclaimer out there. Now, a week and a half ago, I was leaving Minocqua and I was pulled over by a Minocqua police officer and said, he said, "I'm sorry I got to do this to you, but the Oneida County Sheriff's Office needs to bring you in to the jail on 2 counts of criminal defamation." He put handcuffs on me, put me in a squad car, drove me to Lake Tomahawk, where an Oneida County Sheriff's deputy put me in his squad car. They brought me right here, right over there, this is the Oneida County Jail, where they put me in a jail cell, and they took my fingerprints, and I was handcuffed for about 2 hours. I will talk about, first of all, nobody is ever handcuffed for a non-violent misdemeanor. And we'll talk about all that stuff later, but let me talk about criminal defamation in and of itself before I talk about what we're doing today. Criminal defamation is probably unconstitutional in the state of Wisconsin, even though it still exists as a statute. And the history of criminal defamation goes all the way back to James Madison, one of our founding fathers in the 1700s. John Adams, when he was president, hated Thomas Jefferson. And there were certain publications that were for John Adams and certain publications that were for Thomas Jefferson, and both of them leveled criminal defamation charges against those newspapers to throw those guys in jail for being criticized when they were presidents. James Madison saw this happening, and he's like, this is not what America stands for. This might be what happened in Britain, but now that we have a constitution where everybody has an equal say, it is just not good. He said it's okay to sue somebody if you think they lied about you in civil court for monetary damages, but it's not okay for government to throw you in jail if they don't like what you want to say. And government, I say, meaning public figures, including newspaper publishers like Greg Walker. So 300 years ago, this is being talked about as something bad. Now, fast forward to the 1960s. There was a landmark Supreme Court case called New York Times versus Sullivan, which basically said that in order for somebody who's a public figure, like a newspaper publisher or a politician or a president, in order for somebody who buys ink by the barrel and can write and has a big megaphone to actually be able to sue somebody for defamation, you have to prove that that person not only lied, but lied on purpose, with actual malice. That set the standard for actual malice. I argued that that standard was not set in my civil case. It certainly was not set in this case when I put a disclaimer that said nothing what I was saying was even true in the first place. Now, a couple years later, there was another case called Garrison versus Louisiana, where they extended that actual malice level to criminal defamation charges. Now, unfortunately, that case was so screwed up, they didn't even have actual malice standards on their state statutes. So the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional and they had to use actual malice, but it never went far enough to actually ban criminal defamation laws across the country. Now, in the 60s, that decision basically showed all the law school professors in the country that criminal defamation really was unconstitutional. But unfortunately, there are 12 states in America that still have criminal defamation lawsuits on the books, and one of them is Wisconsin. So it's arguable that this statute that these guys used to put me in jail is not even constitutional. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has never had a case since Garrison, Louisiana, to be able to decide whether or not criminal defamation is constitutional or not. Now, fast forward to 1988, there was another Supreme Court case called Hustler Magazine versus Jerry Falwell. Now, Larry Flint is a wild character in American history. He owned Hustler Magazine, it's a pornographic magazine. He published a full-page ad showing that implied that Jerry Falwell was having incestuous sex with his mother, and also was a wild drunk. Now, Jerry Falwell obviously didn't like that, and so he sued him, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And in that decision, a unanimous decision by the United States Supreme Court said that offensive speech was legal so long as that speech couldn't be construed to state actual facts about the subject. I just showed you a picture that I photoshopped Greg Walker's face, and I photoshopped Heather Holmes' face on a picture of two people in rubber suits having a sadomasochistic entanglement. That picture could not be construed to state actual facts about Greg Walker or Heather Holmes because I put a disclaimer on it that said it couldn't be construed to state actual facts. So it is obvious that this case will lose in a higher court of law than the circuit court in Oneida County. It is obvious. So there are three people who I think broke the law over the last 2 weeks. First, Sheriff Grady Hartman, I believe, broke the law when he put me in jail for these 2 counts of criminal defamation, when I've heard from both retired and current law enforcement professionals around the state of Wisconsin that no one ever gets put in jail for a non-violent misdemeanor charge. He put me in jail. And he also has spent 25 years with the Oneida County Police Force and has been appointed by Republican Scott Walker and has been supported by the Oneida County Republican Party. So I think it was political retribution for him to overstep his bounds and put me in handcuffs and throw me in jail. Second, DA Jillian Pfeifer apparently subpoenaed Facebook weeks ago to get more information from them, meaning that she's spent the last weeks or months putting together this criminal defamation case in light of the fact that it's perfectly clear, given Hustler Magazine versus Falwell, that this case will lose in court. And so she's spent Oneida County resources either just to harass me and defame me, or she just has no clue about defamation law and has no business even doing this in the first place because she hasn't read up on what defamation law is. Third, last Monday was my first hearing. Within 2 hours of the hearing, DA Pfeifer submitted the actual complaint. We didn't know what it was for a week after I was thrown in jail. She submitted the complaint, and it was around 40 pages long. It's very unlikely that Judge Sheik read that complaint before we had our hearing. And it's very unlikely that Judge Sheik read that I actually put a disclaimer on that picture, which should, if he had read that, he should have dismissed the case entirely because it's clear that I didn't break the law. Instead, he set a $2,500 bond that said that I was not allowed to disparage him, DA Pfeifer, Sheriff Hartman, Greg Walker, or Heather Holmes. Now, the word disparage could mean anything. Me being here right now, showing you that picture that I just showed you, that I created, could be construed by Judge Sheik that I'm disparaging them, and then DA Pfeifer could also conclude that I'm disparaging her, and she could decide that I'm bail jumping and throw me in jail for that. So 100% that bond that was placed on me is a restriction, it violates my right to free speech. I should be able to talk about this case because this case is junk. So, the next thing I want to do is I want to talk about my friend Charlie Barber. Charlie Barber is a Princeton-educated, retired professor from North Dakota. He plays the guitar at my tap room every year. He's 80 years old. I love the guy to death. Charlie Barber sent me a book called Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. And he told me, he's like, Kirk, you probably know nothing about Saul Alinsky. The guy was an activist in Chicago. But he's like, some of the stuff you're doing, you're speaking truth to power and you're making good trouble up in the North Woods, is exactly what Saul Alinsky wrote about in his book called Rules for Radicals. So I want to read you one of the rules that we're using today. After Charlie introduced me to this book, one of the rules is called, this is rule number 4, make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. If the rule is that every letter gets a reply, send 30,000 letters. You can kill them with this because no one can possibly obey all their own rules. So, what I'm doing today is, if DA Pfeifer wants to charge me for criminal defamation, then she has to be willing, and by the way, I didn't defame anybody because I put a disclaimer on there. If she wants to charge me for criminal defamation, then she better be prepared to handle a deluge of real defamation charges leveled against other people who have actually defamed people. So, believe it or not, because I've been a thorn in a lot of people's sides in Oneida County over the last several years, there's a hate group about almost 1,000 people strong called We Love You Kirk on Facebook. These people have actually lied about who I am, what I am. They actually have defamed me in every sense of the word. Now, would I ever think about suing them for that? No, because people call each other names all the time. We should be bigger than that. But since I might go to jail, or I might be, or I'm being prosecuted for whatever this criminal defamation statute is, I've decided to use Saul Alinsky's rule and to deluge DA Pfeifer with doing 40 cases today with real defamation complaints, and we're going to do another 40 to 100 next week by all the people who said my food was bad, who wrote me a 1-star review and said my food was bad because we don't even serve food. Clearly, defamation. We're going to do another 100. I have hundreds of people who have defamed me and my company over the last 4 years. Hundreds. We're going to keep on filing complaints because until she realizes it's a very slippery slope to start prosecuting people for defamation for simply calling each other names. It's a very slippery slope, and if she's not willing to put all these people in handcuffs and book them all and take their fingerprints and press charges against every single one, if she's not willing to do that, then she either has to dismiss my case or face a federal lawsuit that shows that she is not practicing the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which says all people are created equal under the law. She has to treat me the same. She has to treat those 40 people we're filing complaints today the same as I was treated, or else she's breaking the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So, now I've explained to you, so these are the people. I'm not defaming them by saying their names. These are the people who I am filing a complaint against today. Here we go. It is Adam Johnson, Bob Bauer, Bob Ozelli, Kara Siebert, Drew Saunders, Dwayne Nicholson, Ed Reshak, James Whitner, Jason Gerke, Jason Walker, Jeff Schickentek, Jeff Scannell, Jeffrey Peterson, Janelle Joe, Jeremy Herring Spurl, Jim Javinkowski, John Thompson, Jose Taquita, Ken Walker, Lonnie Crass, Melissa Lane Tankey, Michael Sampson, Mike Johnson. By the way, these are some real top-notch people in Minocqua. I'm being sarcastic. Mike Zemko, Morgan Woodruff, Paul Brinkman, Paul Henning, Sandy Koski, Shiloh Harp, Stephen Verbos, Terry Crustafalos Burrell, Thomas Eisenhower, Vanessa Thibodeau, Wayne Buck. It's around 40 people. I guarantee you they all have fit the standards of what criminal defamation is that was used against me. Now, we're going to go in right now. I have the complaints, screenshots of the evidence of the complaints against all 40 of these people right here. And we're going to go into the Oneida County Sheriff's Office, and I'm going to tell them that I want to report a crime or many crimes. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to let us film inside. So if we all of a sudden go dark, you realize they're not allowing us to film. But we're going to do this right now. So let's hope there's no arrests today. I'm telling everybody I'm doing this in peace. I don't even have pants on. I have shorts on. Obviously, I'm not carrying anything that's bad or anything. So we're doing this peacefully. The pen is mightier than the sword. So let's go, Scott. Oh, one more thing. I tried to do this over the phone with the Minocqua Police Department and the Oneida County Sheriff's Department last Tuesday. The Minocqua Police Department said they didn't have jurisdiction, and the operator put me in touch with. She put me into a voicemail of a sheriff's deputy or somebody, and nobody ever called me back. That's another reason we're doing this in person today, because they can't put me into voicemail if I show up in person. Let's go. We still live? Is it still?
Oh yeah.
Nice. File a criminal complaint? Okay. Kirk Bangstad. C. February 2nd, 1977.
Your address?
727 Laurelard Court, apartment 431. Well, actually, let's use my Minocqua address because I'm here. It's 329 Front Street. That's Minocqua, Wisconsin, 54548.
Beautiful.
312-371-6431.
6431?
Yeah.
Okay, and what kind of complaints?
There's 40 complaints for criminal defamation here.
Okay, next go, so I'll call back.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, have a good day.
We're waiting for a sheriff's deputy for this intake.
We got almost 300 people on here.
Okay? Just stand over there and just film me having a seat. All right, so I'm sitting down. We're waiting for a sheriff's deputy to come out so I can file these criminal defamation charges. The one concern I have, obviously, that's why we did this in the morning, is that if the DA or the sheriff decides to arrest me for breaking my bond, it's early enough today where Fred can come to my defense and try to get me out of jail before the weekend. Fred ultimately warned me about doing this on a Friday because he said it ain't going to be fun if you're in jail all throughout the weekend, and I can't guarantee you that I can get you out of jail. He said, why don't you do this on a Monday? And I'm not a very patient individual, and so I was like, if they want to put me in jail for the weekend, so be it. I guess I'll have to spend the weekend in jail. It'll be, it would be so ridiculous, but it's possible. So hopefully that doesn't happen. So the complaint is 40 pages, and so a 40-page complaint is a lot. So that's why we continue to think.
Good.
Go for it.
Sorry, man. That's why we continue to think that you know that I originally thought it was just Brady Hartman, the sheriff, who has been a good old boy in Minocqua for his whole life. I think in Rhinelander, he's part of the Good Old Boys Network. You know, I say odd and odd. I thought it was just him. I was willing to give DA Pfeifer the benefit of the doubt that he just threw me into jail, and she actually was a smart enough lawyer to realize this was how bad of a mistake this was. But when we saw this 40-page complaint, it assured us that she's part of this from the very start. Because you don't subpoena Facebook to get evidence against me if you're not actually in favor of prosecuting this to the nth degree. So DA Pfeifer is no longer off the hook. I gave Sheriff Hartman way too much credit. So DA Pfeifer and Sheriff Hartman will both be part of a federal lawsuit that we have yet to determine what the charges are, but it's probably going to be something like political retribution. Now, while we're waiting, who's ever heard the term political retribution? Donald Trump said on the first day that he's elected president, he will punish, fire, jail all the people who disagreed with him in the past. This is exactly, so political retribution is on the ballot in the United States, and Wisconsin is a swing state. It's about 13 days before the election. So this is why I think, should I be knocking on doors right now, or should I be spending super PAC money to help Kamala Harris get elected? Sure. But this issue is exactly what America looks like, all throughout America, not just in podunk, northern Wisconsin. It's exactly what America looks like if Donald Trump gets elected. People will be thrown in prison for criticizing him to the highest levels. So that is why I am making a big stink about this, because hopefully voters in Wisconsin see this and they see that this could be how life is in America if Trump wins. And hopefully a few Republicans who don't want to be on the losing side of a criminal defamation lawsuit will put two and two together and not vote for Trump, even though they might be conservative. They won't vote for Harris because we have to have a system of laws, and we have to have equal protections under our Constitution, and that will go away if Trump gets elected.
Mr. Bangstad?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Sergeant Frank.
How you doing, Sergeant?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'd like to file criminal defamation charges.
Okay. Are those statement forms already filled out? Or
These are letters.
Okay.
We have a letter for every person we want to file against.
Okay.
And we have evidence of how they've defamed me over the last 3 years.
All right.
Okay. So the letter is here, the name is here.
So basically in these letters, the explanation is in there, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't need any statement forms.
I'm willing to,
So
I mean,
I can provide you with statement forms.
no,
if
I
there's
think we've
something
already
else
said the
that we need to
statement.
put in there.
This is the statement.
Okay.
This is the evidence.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
So,
All right,
40 people.
I will take those from you,
Okay.
and it will be assigned to a detective, and they'll follow up with you next week, okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, have a good day.
Okay, folks. No one's going to jail today, it appears like. So I'm going to sign off. We just did what we had to do. The sheriff's deputy came out and he said that some detective will get in touch with me next week about the complaints we just made. So, according to Fred, I think I did what I needed to do. So, thanks all for watching, and I appreciate your support so far. And I think we're going to win this, but it's going to take some more fighting. All right, take care.